Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Symposium on Diversity and Inclusion hosted by the Law Society of Hong Kong. My name is Sharon, Council Member of the Law Society of Hong Kong. It's my great pleasure to be the MC for today's symposium titled First But Not Last, Women Leaders Reimagining Justice in Asia, organized by the Law Society for Hong Kong and supported by the Chinese University of Hong Kong, CUHK, and the CUHK Faculty of Law. At the Law Society, inclusivity and equality are not merely aspirations. They are foundational values that shape our vision for the legal profession. A truly vibrant legal community thrives on diversity and inclusion, and we continue to call upon the legal profession to join us in turning this vision into reality. Today, we are honored to have with us today three very distinguished speakers who were each the first in their respective field to share with us their insights and experience on various aspects of diversity and inclusion. Today's event is particularly meaningful as the CUHK Faculty of Law celebrates its 20th anniversary this year. Before we begin the symposium, may I now invite everybody to join us for a group photo to commemorate this special milestone, and our photographer will capture the photo from the stage.
Okay, here, look here, ready.
Thank you very much, everyone. At this special moment, we are privileged to have Professor Dennis Low, Vice Chancellor and President of CUHK, joining us today. May I now invite Professor Low to deliver his welcome remarks. Professor Low, please.
The Right Honourable Tuan Tengku Maimun, Dr. the Honourable Elsie Leung, Dr. Honourable Tuan, Mr. Roden Tong, Ms. Melissa Pang, distinguished guests, colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this Diversity and Inclusion Symposium, hosted by the Law Society of Hong Kong and supported by the Chinese University of Hong Kong and its Faculty of Law. This collaboration reflects our shared commitment to the advancement of the legal profession and to the values of diversity, inclusion, and public service. This evening brings together three distinguished women leaders of exceptional distinction, whose experience span judicial service, public leadership, and professional stewardship. While their contribution will be introduced in greater detail later, their presence here today speaks powerfully to the importance of inclusive leadership within our legal communities and in the society more broadly. The occasion is especially meaningful to the university. It also marks the Faculty of Law 20th anniversary. Now, over the past 2 decades, the CUHK Faculty of Law has grown with a clear sense of purpose to pursue academic excellence while remaining closely engaged with the profession and the community it serves. And our international family of research-led scholars has been dedicated to creating a dynamic, flexible, and learner-centered environment in which students are instilled with both intellectual skills and ethical values to become future leaders and better serve the needs of societies. Diversity and inclusion are central to that purpose. Diversity embraces uniqueness of our gender, race, culture, and beliefs, while inclusion occurs when people feel valued and respected. Women's empowerment is the process by which women became aware of gender-based unequal power relationships and acquire a greater voice with which to speak out against the inequality found in home, workplace, and the community. Now, at CUHK, these values are not only embedded in policy, but also encouraged in practice through sustained institutional-wide efforts to widen access, support diverse pathways for talents, and cultivate a campus culture grounded in respect and inclusion. We actively support female students and colleagues to fulfill their potential in learning, teaching, research, and other areas of university operations. Our curriculum is enriched with courses on gender equality and social justice to raise student awareness of gender-related issues. Policy against sexual harassment and discrimination and family-friendly measures are in place to ensure that women can participate fully in campus life in a safe and respectful environment. In 2022, we established a Women Academic Subcommittee to strengthen the role of women academics and nurture future female leaders. This commitment shapes the way we inspire our next generation and engage our community to champion diversity and inclusion as a shared responsibility amongst us, so that these values are reflected in everything that we do. So on behalf of the university, I'd like to thank the Law Society of Hong Kong for the valuable partnership. And I thank all of you here for joining us tonight. Now, this symposium is an ideal platform for stimulating constructive dialogue and collective action towards a more equitable future for all. I wish you all a thought-provoking and rewarding discussion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Low. Please remain on stage. Professor Low, please remain on stage. May we now invite Mr. Roden Tong, President of the Law Society of Hong Kong, to present a souvenir to Professor Low as a token of our gratitude to CUHK for its generous support in providing the venue and assisting in the organization of today's event. Thank you, and please remain on stage. Next, may I now invite Professor Low to present a souvenir to the President of the Law Society of Hong Kong, Mr. Roden Tong, as a token of appreciation in return.
OK， 好，預備。
Thank you very much, Professor Low. Please be seated. May I now invite President Tong to extend a warm welcome to our guests and participants, and the stage is over to you.
Deputy Secretary for Justice, Professor Low, Professor Hsi, distinguished guests, all the students, my mentees, all the students, my young members. So we're very happy to see you all tonight. So although I have a speech for me, I mean the secretary has prepared for me, but I do not prepare to read it out, because in the last 3 days, is in fact the opening legal year in Hong Kong, I have given at least probably 10 speeches. So I believe that in the camera, they are sick of hearing any more about my speech. But anyway, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, I'm not quite sure whether you all know what exactly the function of the Law Society of Hong Kong. So the Law Society of Hong Kong founded in 1907. This year marks our 119th anniversary. So we are, in fact, a regulator. We are the one who issue practicing certificate, in fact, the license to all the solicitors in Hong Kong. So if any young people here eventually want to become a solicitor, by all means, you will have to become our members. So another thing is that why today that we have this diversity symposium, all because that all along the Law Society has devoted in building the bridge between young people and also our professions. We are trying to nurture a lot of young talent. As you can see that today, I invite a couple of my mentees. Can you show a virtual hands to us? from all the schools. When I first met them, we arranged we call it Greater Bay Area Study Tour. So bringing all these young students to travel to Chinese mainland. One unique nature is during that tour, all along of the program, we actually use English. So the reason why is, as you probably know, Hong Kong continue to maintain a common law jurisdiction. And in fact, we are the world truly English Chinese bilingual common law jurisdiction. This is a very unique and one of our competitive edge in the world. This is exactly what I delivered in my speech in the opening legal year yesterday. I also deliver is about the professionalism that we all enjoy. So today, I do not want to spend too much time in giving a speech because we all want to hear on three very distinguished ladies tonight to speak for us and share their valuable experience and insight with you all. So without further ado, can you join me in giving a round of applause to all my three distinguished speakers to the stage? Thank you. Testing. Okay. Finally, I need to look at my iPad. Okay, first of all, may I first introduce our three distinguished speakers. Okay, I just mentioned about the reason why today you will see that three ladies, but one man. It's all about diversity. Not just that. The reason why is, I can tell you the reason why. Because in fact, I know all our three distinguished speakers pretty well. Okay, from the very young one, which is my friend, Melissa. Okay, I have known Melissa for 2 decades. As you know that she is the past president of the Law Society. In fact, the first female past president of the Law Society in our long history, starting from 1907, 119 years. She is our first female past president. I've known him for 2 decades. So we work hand in hand in serving our legal professions for so long. So I feel very deep-heartedly to working alongside with her. One thing that, if you know her, every single day, no matter what challenges she faces, she is always smiling. This is something I learned from her very much. Okay, the second one obviously is I very respected is our very senior members, Dr. Elsie Leung. She is in fact our first Secretary for Justice since 1997 when we returned to our motherland. Dr. Leung all along devoted her entire life to our legal profession, not just that. She is very supportive of all the work that the legal profession has done, in particular the Law Society. Every time when I call up Dr. Leung, she immediately will say yes to me. So I feel very deeply that I am telling my Secretary General, Wendy. Initially, I was telling her that she should be the one who would be the moderator. But then I said to myself, no, there's one more reason why I had to be moderator today. It's also because next to me is the former Chief Justice of Malaysia, Tuan, me. So the first time I met CJ was in the opening of legal year in Malaysia. So that's also the last time CJ delivered her speech before her retirement. CJ delivered a very insightful and touching speech. She served in the Malaysian highest court for 6 years. During all the time, this speech is so touching in my heart that today I want to actually hear directly from her. Okay, now let me introduce them formally. Okay. Okay, the Right Honourable Tengku Binti CJ was the first female Chief Justice of Malaysia, serving from 2019 to 2025. She is currently the president of the Asian Law Associations. As I mentioned to you, I first met CJ in the opening legal year in Malaysia in January 2025. It is exactly the reason why I was totally moved by her speech. So today we are very honored to have her to share her insightful and valuable life experience with us today. So perhaps I'll give CJ a round of applause first. Okay, the next speaker, Dr. the Honourable Elsie Leung. Dr. Leung was the first and a female Secretary for Justice of the government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region from 1997 to 2005, 8 years. Truly pay high respect to Dr. Leung, as she was taking up a very difficult task which she completed with grace and integrity. So upon her retirement from the post for Secretary for Justice, she returned to her legal practice as a consultant of a law firm and continues to serve on a number of NGOs. So without further ado, can you give a round of applause to Dr. Leung? Okay, Melissa, my good friend, Miss Melissa Pan, was the first ever female president of the Law Society of Hong Kong for the period from 2018 to 2021. So as I said, I've known Melissa for 2 decades, and she is one of my very, very close friends, and I witnessed her striking through different problems and issues during the unprecedented global adversity in her challenging tenure. So she is a practicing solicitor and the managing partner of the law firm she established. Melissa is also a council member of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. So give a round of applause to Malaysia. Okay, so today we are going to hear to these 3 remarkable speakers to share their insightful experience with us. Okay, the first question. So I'm going to ask CJ. So CJ, when you began your tenure as Chief Justice, the Malaysian judiciary actually faced significant challenges to its public image and independence. Could you share your reflections on the initial environment you encountered and how he shaped your approach to leadership?
Thank you. First and foremost, may I say thank you for having me here. When I assumed the post of Chief Justice, the initial environment was one of lack of trust and confidence in the judiciary, and there was an intense scrutiny of the judges. So what happened was that we were in fact still recovering from the 1988 judicial crisis, when the Lord President then and 2 Supreme Court judges were dismissed. And also we were still recovering from the 2007, what we call the scandal of Wikilingham videotape, where in that videotape it was disclosed that there was a judge fixing in the judiciary. Then just immediately prior to my appointment, there were controversies surrounding the appointments of 2 top positions in the judiciary, in the sense that their appointments were made beyond the, for a tenure which far exceeded what was allowed under the federal constitution. And finally, there were also allegations that the top judges were interfering in the judicial decision-making process of the judges. And of course, essentially all these allegations, the result, or rather the perception of all these allegations would naturally be that public perceive that there was no judicial independence of the judiciary, of the Malaysian judiciary, and that the judges were, or rather the judiciary was beholden and subservient to the executive. So how that initial environment, that initial environment shaped the approach, or rather my approach to leadership in the following ways. First, I regarded the restoring the image of the judiciary, or rather the public trust and confidence of the public in the judiciary, as my biggest challenge. I treated that as my biggest challenge, and I was committed to restoring that public trust and confidence in the judiciary by committing to upholding the rule of law, to defending the judicial independence, and to decide cases fairly and impartially, without fear or favor, without regard to any extraneous circumstances or factors. And I thought in doing so, the public would have a bit of assurance that things will change, because I, in fact, made, or rather reiterate that commitment in my maiden speech when I was appointed as the Chief Justice. And I was also committed, I make it known that I was committed to upholding the supremacy of the federal constitution, and that I considered, or rather I saw my oath of office to protect, defend, and preserve the federal constitution as not merely a formality or a ceremonial one, but I regarded that oath as an ethical, a moral, and a legal obligation to uphold that oath. And I was determined to translate that oath of office in my judgments. And actually, the initial environment that presents itself when I was first appointed actually shaped my leadership philosophy. Of course, I recognize the fact that when I was first appointed, the appointment was very much lauded. As a first female Chief Justice in Malaysia, it was the step was seen as a very major step towards achieving gender parity in the Malaysian judiciary, particularly at the leadership level. And of course, it was said that I had shattered the glass ceiling, and it was, of course, many of the women groups particularly were very excited about it. But to me, this was not merely about the position. It was not merely, it was not about personal glory. And leadership is not about trying to please anybody. It is not about trying to be popular. It is about leading an institution with courage, integrity, and perseverance. So that was how it shaped my approach to leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. So the second question I probably ask Dr. Leung. So Dr. Leung, as Hong Kong's first female Secretary for Justice, you broke new ground and led through some of the most transformative years in our city's history. So looking back, can you share with us how Hong Kong transitioned from a British colony to become a special administrative region of the People's Republic of China, and what challenges you met during the formative years?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. President. It is, in fact, an amazing metamorphosis when Hong Kong transited from a British colony to a special administrative region of the People's Republic of China. Well, to the world, it seems that there was just change of flag and a change of nomenclature, but in fact, a lot underwent the transition. There was no bloodshed, no revolution, no riots, and no internal conflict upon the reunification of Hong Kong with China. If you look at the other places, at the end of the colonial rule, all this would happen. This is because one country, two systems is a great concept which enabled two systems with stark differences to coexist within one country. I'm talking about the socialist system practiced in the mainland and the capitalist system practiced in Hong Kong. Hence, the stability and prosperity of Hong Kong could continue and maintained. If upon reunification of Hong Kong with China, the political, legal, economic, and other systems which were built up during the 156 years of colonial rule had to be uprooted. Then the interests of Hong Kong people would be damaged. This is particularly so if you consider that when they signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration in 1984, the lifestyles in the mainland and those in Hong Kong were very different. For example, gambling in horse racing, ballroom dance, those were considered to be capitalist style of living, which were not permitted in the mainland. The lifestyle represents, symbolizes the freedom and rights which the people enjoy. So it was very important that lifestyle could be maintained after reunification. To fully understand that, you have to go to the root of Chinese culture. In the Chinese culture, harmony and peace had always been valued. You have heard about 和和贵,和以贵, which means that harmony is the most precious, meaning that harmony, amity, and peace are the most valued criteria in dealing with interpersonal relationship, in social relations, and also in international relationship. You've also heard about harmony in diversity, 和而不同, 和而不同. This recognizes the differences, respects the diversity, and emphasizes the pursuit of harmonious coexistence, and the premises that maintaining their respective characteristics. These appear in the Analects of Confucius, which was formed in the World States period, that is 475 BC to 221 BC, and were followed by the scholars in the subsequent thousands of years. The principle of peace, inclusiveness, openness, and sharing appear in our country's foreign policies in recent years. So you can find this in like community of shared future for mankind, the Belt and Road initiatives, the BRICS, ASEAN Alliance, RCEP, one country, two systems, not only resolved the problem left from history in Hong Kong, it may also be, it has also significance in the world, in the whole world. Now that's why I think that the one country, two system principle was very important in ensuring the transition of Hong Kong from a British colony to a special administrative region of China. You talk about the challenges we met. Of course, there were many challenges. That is because when you build up a constitutional order, you don't just rely on the law. Of course, the basic law and the constitution comprises our constitutional order, but you don't just have the law there. The important thing is implementation. Shortly after the reunification, I think on the second day of July 1997, then the position of the legality of the Provisional Legislative Council was challenged. A barrister was charged with obstructing the course of justice. He challenged that the proceedings have to be stayed permanently because the proceedings started in the name of the Queen of the United Kingdom, and the Queen had no longer sovereignty in Hong Kong. That's why he said that you cannot continue with the prosecution. But luckily, that he also challenged the Provisional Legislative Council not being part of the provision of the basic law. And then luckily, the court upheld the legality of provisional legislature because of the common law principle of the necessity. So otherwise, the government would be a lame duck government, at least for a while. The other challenges arose because of that there was not total understanding of our new constitutional order. For example, the cases of illegal migrants, the right of both cases, the legal position of Hong Kong vis-a-vis the Central People's Government, the proportionality between citizens' rights and the governmental power. And some of these disputes arose from a lack of understanding of Hong Kong's new constitution and the basic law. Others from conflicts of law between the mainland and Hong Kong's legal systems. There was also new development in the common law in recent years relating to this judicial review, as well as the introduction of new legislation relating to human rights, such as the Sex Discrimination Ordinance, Public Order Ordinance, etc. I'm glad that these disputes were resolved, the constitutional order was firmly established, and the rule of law was upheld. In the course of that, I found that communication with the branches, bureaus, and departments of the government, politicians, and the public, very important. Without that, for mutual understanding, openness, inclusiveness, and diversity could resolve many governance issues, although you may not always win all the opponents to your side. So that were some of the challenges we met upon reunification.
Thank you, Dr. Leung. Well, obviously, as we all know that when we first return to our motherland, there's a lot of administration problem or issues that we will have to encounter and face. Even now, I think our government is working very hard to basically to overcome a lot of different challenges as well. On this note, so now perhaps I go to our first speakers. So our past president, we normally call PP. So PP Malaysia Pen, PP. Okay, PP Malaysia. So having known you for 20 years, as I said, I always admire you for your unwavering positivity even in the face of adversity. So as the first female president of the Law Society of Hong Kong, you led during one of the most challenging periods in our history. We all know why. So could you share a moment when your optimism and resilience helped you to overcome a particularly difficult diversity or inclusion challenge?
Thank you, Roden. I think it's great that we are all here on this symposium talking about this topic about diversity and inclusion. I think I must say, I want to explain a bit about my background. I joined the Law Society Council back in 2004, so I have been there for quite a while. So I'm working with all my past president and fellow colleagues, so we all had a good time. Actually, that challenging time, but by the time I become president, I thought the greatest issue in front of me is about foreign lawyers and Hong Kong lawyers, the ratio. Because at then we try to lower the ratio so that there's a ratio like 1 Hong Kong lawyer to how many foreign lawyers in Hong Kong. But then after, I must say, I must be the lucky one, since I'm the first female president. So in my year 2018 to 2021, I would say we can see a dual crisis. So first came the social unrest, then came the COVID. I must say, I'm not particularly positive, but it's good that you are saying that you always see me smile. I think all those things just came totally out of my expectation. But I think the important thing is to hold on to core values. I think the core value we all share, many of here are lawyers here, is the rule of law. It's very important for us to pursue justice, equality, and equity. Of course, diversity and inclusion is an important part of it. We have to make sure despite difference in views, people are still talking to each other. We try to come to a compromise. And it's important that all of us are in dialogue. But in 2019, suddenly the world changed. I can see something that's really shocking. People not obeying the law, and people turn into violence. And people tell me, wow, what is happening to the rule of law? It's the first time we ever seen this in Hong Kong. And to me, I have a deep feeling for that. Many people say, now we're going back to the law of jungle. That's impossible. But to all my fellow colleagues and very good, like CM Chan and also like Roden, we give each other fair, and also Amarali, we give each other very strong support. It's a difficult time, unprecedented. However, it's important for us to go back to core values. Is that differences, disagreement, we cannot just go and bash up each other. We cannot just have arson or other vandalism in Hong Kong. And also, at that point of time, I realized something that's very important. I think it's important for everyone to know the rule of law is not just for lawyers and judges. It's for everyone in the society. When I look back, I feel that actually I was chairing the committee for the promotion of civic education for 6 years. That was back in 2012 to 2018. At that time, we have a lot of promotion to the whole of Hong Kong about rights under the basic law. However, we did not have the emphasis and the resources to talk about duty. So all our young people think we have the rights, but how are the duties? It's two sides of the same coin. And when you look at the basic law, you look at the part that gives you the duties and also the rights. And also, on the other hand, besides rights and duties, I think it's very important to know that about Constitution, the PRC Constitution. We have the Basic Law Committee, the Promotion for Basic Law Committee. But I have many lawyers who come along and tell me, the Constitution is in Chinese. Somehow, for those who cannot read Chinese, they say, so I just go back to basic law, forget about the Constitution. But very good that after that, you can see now the government, of course, our Deputy SJ is here, we are really doing the right thing. Talk about duties and obligations and rights. And at the same time, the promotion of basic law as well as PRC, constitutional law. And the hierarchy is one that one must know. Every citizen, every resident in Hong Kong must know of it. And another observation I would say very interesting is about the black swan effect. I think all of us had heard about the black swan effect. This is some event, just very rare. Out of my plan, out of my expectation, pops up. But the impact is immense. It's changing the whole world, changing the way we look at it, changing our attitude. But when we look back, it is something that could be, on hindsight, predictable. And when I look at changes, we can say the COVID is never expected. Our social unrest in 2019 is not expected. And also, I would say the AI coming is not really expected. So we can say the way we work has been changing so rapidly. But of course, for those in IT, they would know it's coming. But for me, who's non-IT person, we can really that really changes the way lawyers are working. I would like to mention about COVID. In COVID, of course, it changed the way we work and live. And you can see, we work from home, the courts are closed for a substantial period of time, and we are now used to using Zoom and Team and other things. But we can say, I think in future, what I learned is we have to be adaptive. Something unpredictable might happen in the near future, but I think we must have the attitude to be adaptive, and also to know how to handle this. And whenever some disruptive event happens, we have to be adaptive and learn from it. And as an advice to young lawyers, I think being a lawyer, first, you must be intellectually very capable. But at the same time, you must have empathy, and you must be able to embrace diversity and inclusion. And I think that's very important for our younger generation. Thank you.
Wow. Very valuable sharing. Thank you, Melissa. So one thing I thought we've done is out of the expectation. There's a lot of things that we encounter out of the expectation. So like my predecessor, Mr. C.M. Chan, now is the Director of Legal Aid. It's all of my expectations too. Okay. So I think we encounter as the council member, a couple of number of council members here today. So during our 10 years serving the Law Society, you probably cannot imagine as a regulator what exactly we will have to do. So bi-weekly we will have a council meeting. So each meeting, I can tell you the longest meeting is from 1 p.m. to almost 5:30. So you can imagine what exactly we have to do. So today, we just had our council meeting today, and then we pursued off to here to do this symposium. So back to Dr. Leung. Dr. Leung, throughout your career, I think you have served on various government boards, committees, NGOs, commercial organizations, that you always champion D&I, diversity and inclusions. So was there any particular moment that made you realize the power of embracing differences, whether in gender, background, or ideas?
Thank you, President. Before I actually joined the legal profession, I thought it is all the lawyer's job is to win the case. But then when I started seriously to consider being a solicitor, I read books and articles and found that, in fact, law is the oldest form of social service. You serve the people, you resolve the hardship and the difficult problems. And since then, that has been my purpose in joining the legal profession. I think that the diversity and the inclusiveness are very important because in serving on government boards, in my career as a lawyer and also as a government official, I found that sometimes you just not win your issue, win your case. The important thing is to resolve the problem. And give an example, sometimes if you win a case for the client, it doesn't mean he'll be very happy. Sometimes the hatred and the ill feeling experienced by the litigant would gnaw at his heart the whole of his life. Whereas if the matter is peacefully settled, particularly in divorce cases, the parties could still continue to be friends and work together for the interests of the children. So I think it's very necessary to consider every aspect and try to resolve differences through mediation. I mean, actually, in 1968, when I was admitted as a solicitor, at that time, the alternative dispute resolution was something new. And I remember in 1976, 75, when we formed the International Federation of Women Lawyers, Hong Kong, we started to advocate something like family court and arbitration and mediation. Arbitration was known, but mediation was certainly not in practice. Family court was not established until much later. So all this was issues, which taught me that inclusiveness and diversity are very important in dealing with public issues, particularly human rights issues and so on. And that is why later on I joined the Hong Kong Federation of Women Lawyers. That gave me the chance of exchanges with jurists, with judges and lawyers, scholars elsewhere in the world through the biannual biannual conferences, and you can have exchanges with other lawyers as to what's developing in their own country. I believe that in serving this community and so on, the most important thing is to try to understand the other parties and see what is the best solution for everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Leung. Now, perhaps I would like to ask CJ. I think CJ, as I mentioned to you that last time when I was in Malaysia, I hear your speech. So in navigating all this very complex landscape, so how did you foster trust and confidence in your colleague in the judiciary, particularly when working alongside individuals with very different perspectives or interests?
Well, I think it must be leading by example. I think that would foster trust and confidence. I myself must demonstrate behavior, work ethics, and values that I wanted to see in my judges. And I would, if I had spoken so much about judicial independence, about integrity, about being courageous, that, I've often reminded my judges that a good leader, or as a judge, we need to be courageous in making decisions, because in Malaysia in particular, there are two sensitive matters, those which relate to race and religion, and every time these cases appear before us, it is very easy, however we decide, whichever way we decide, it can easily incite sentiments. So I would often be reminding my judges that, when we decide cases, we disregard public opinion, public sentiment, public pressures. So I have to show them that I did exactly that. So when I have to decide cases with, which are politically charged, for example, or with a lot of racial and religious elements, I would have to decide those cases purely on the facts and on the law, putting aside what the public will think, whether, I mentioned in my speech, in my last Oi speech, that I have been labeled un-Islamic, my faith was questioned because I decided cases in a manner that was correct in law, but somehow the public feels that that shouldn't be the decision because it wasn't in accord with their sentiment. So when to foster trust, public trust, I think it is important for a leader to lead by example. There's no point talking about this and that when you yourself do not show the same value. So, and I also reminded the judges that, and talking about integrity, I often reminded the judges that integrity means, it's not merely about absence of corruption in the monetary sense. It is about doing the right thing when nobody is watching us and when no one knows what we are doing. But integrity is doing what is right, always. And also when we talk about having the courage, it is having the courage to say no when everybody else says yes, when yes is the easier path to take, but when saying no is the right thing to say. So I translated all these values into my judgments. So, and I reminded the judges that they owe no allegiance or loyalty to anyone, but to the law, their conscience, and their learning. So in deciding cases, for example, if I sat in a panel of 3 or 5 or 7 or 11, and I was chairing as the Chief Justice, when we deliberate and we discuss the cases, I will always remind them that each one of us would have one equal say. as the Chief Justice, I am only the first among the equals. So they should not feel threatened or feel not comfortable in deciding differently. So I made it clear to them that they can decide in any way they think is right, they are comfortable with, that the decision is correct on the law and on the facts. Whether it is different from mine is all right. So in that sense, I think I have sort of gained their trust and confidence. And working alongside people with differing perspectives and interests, to me, that in itself is not a challenge or an obstacle. Because I respect different perspectives and interests, and as you can appreciate, in Malaysia, we are multiracial, we are multi-religious, and we have Sabah and Sarawak, another spectrum, the different tribes and all those things. So what is important is, I think, I practice collegiality, and every decision is made collectively. And I think in that sense, whatever decisions made collectively would result in a better outcome and more sustained. So I think that, to a certain extent, help foster confidence in the judiciary.
Thank you, CJ. Well, a couple of points I feel very deeply. One is about led by example. I think being leader, a number of us here today have led by example for doing a lot for our profession in Hong Kong. And also it's about the collective responsibility. So I always remind my fellow council member that every decision we make is not my decision, it's a council decision. So don't bring me, bring the whole council. Okay, so Malaysia, I think we are just a little behind, little bit of time left. Okay, so let me ask you another question. Literally, I have a question here, but I want to ask you another question. I'm pretty sure you can answer it. Okay, remember that in the most difficult time, I was the council member at that time. I came to you, and I asked you, okay, we all doing all these young people work. We have been bringing students to judiciary, to all these mock trial. And then we brought all these students in 2018 to Legislative Council to run the mock council debate. So in 2019, because of the social unrest, so at that time, as you all know, that Hong Kong is facing a very difficult and challenging period. So then I came to you and say, okay, we do judiciary, we do electrical, but what about enforcement? We have never done anything about enforcement. So I came to Malaysia. At that time, she was the president. So I asked her, can we reach out to all the disciplinary service department and try to actually bring all the students to meet them, to at least let them to understand what exactly our disciplinary service department are doing for Hong Kong. You know, at that time, if I ask that question, people will ask, are you crazy? So, but then Melissa was saying to me that, well, okay, why don't we just reach out to all the commissioner and see what they think? So why now, at that time, when you hear my proposal, you didn't think that I'm crazy?
Thank you, Roden. I think when we talk about law, just I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, I mean, talking about rule of law is for everyone in the world, not just Hong Kong, everywhere, Malaysia, Singapore, Europe, or wherever. So, like some people, lawyers, okay, we are lawyers who could be commercial lawyer or we could be litigation lawyer. And then we have the judiciary. And we have the legislative council, like making law, and then you're doing the adjudication, and we are helping out, we are officer of the court. At the same time, they are an enforcement of the court, enforcement of the law. So they are like police, custom, immigration, and also correctional service, etc. They are all play a part. I don't miss out, legal aid department. So it's very important because when we talk about legal aid, Hong Kong has one of the best place for the access to justice because we have legal aid. If you cannot afford so-called expensive legal costs, can apply if you fulfill the criteria. So I think the suggestion at that point of time, when Roden and I were having dinner, I think the idea pops up because there's a need for legal education, not just for legal education in universities. I mean, even young people, now I think you're talking about very young kindergarten kids, primary students, secondary. We all have to reach out to them. Because I told Roden, you know, I remember when I was very young, I was taught whenever I see a policeman, if I get lost, my mom told me, you look for a policeman, he'll bring me home safely. So that's something I remember very well. So for young people, it's important to teach them the right value from the very young age. And also at that point of time, Roden mentioned about we have to reach out for those one who are enforcing the law. And then we bring the young people. When young people, we're talking about teenagers, maybe 14 to 17, around that, 12, 13, 14, etc., teenagers. So they can have a closer interaction with those in the enforcement of law, and also with lawyers, and also to know more about the judiciary, the court system. I mean, all those are very important part of the legal education. So they know how the system works. They know this is a very complicated system. There's a separation of job duties. But that makes the whole rule of law workable. In Hong Kong, we say we're always very proud of the rule of law in Hong Kong. The law is transparent. You can go to the court, sit there, and watch how the trial goes. And if you don't have the money, go to legal aid, can get access to justice. And then all those make it a very effective and efficient system. Of course, there are room for improvement, but the general structure is good. This is such a good system we have to treasure, and we can improve. However, in 2019, what I heard is very scary. They say the existing system, we can just overthrow it, rebuild. That's quite impossible. I mean, from chaos, if you rebuild to existing state, it basically is quite impossible. So there are a lot of changes, but we have to embrace changes. But every step we make must be a reasoned step. It must be, you have to know the consequence and make sure we don't make the wrong move. So I'm very glad, CM joining the government, and we have a very respectable Deputy Secretary for Justice. So we can see a lot of changes in Hong Kong for the past 5, 6, 7 years. But that is an important change. And it laid the foundation for our future growth for Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. So I now know the answer.
Melissa is very right, because when we talk about the rule of law, it's not just some principle, vague principle like everyone is equal before the law, etc. You're talking about the whole number of systems, including the system in making law, your legal system, your judicial system, your legal services, including solicitors and barristers, and also the government legal law departments like company law, land law, and so on. And also it's important that the law can be enforced. And the disciplinary the forces are those the departments which enforce the law. And also you have to, people will have to know the law and observe the law. So the whole system of education is very important. And that is why I think that it was a very good idea that you suggested that the students should go and see the disciplinary forces.
Thank you, Dr. Leung. Well, in fact, because of that, the Law Society actually hosts 26 visits to all the 7 disciplinary service departments. So thousands of students attend to it, and they feel very deeply and to understand what exactly the disciplinary service department does. one thing I also want to take the opportunity to thank one person is our DSJ. During 2018, he was the one that all the weekend are basically supporting the Law Society in hosting the visit in electrical. At that time, he was the electrical member. So now I think we are run out of time. So one final remark. Okay, let me ask Melissa first. Okay, what's the one questions about diversity and inclusion that you wish more people would ask? And what do you think it matters? Very quick one.
Okay, very quick answer. Okay, we all understand the importance of diversity and inclusion. But I think the next question we have to ask is, how can we improve the system so that not by default, the diversity and inclusion will be maintained? We have to think of the system. We can't just rely on the person alone. We must have a system that makes it workable and people feel they are valued. And although they're from different backgrounds, different races, different gender, they all feel they are welcome. That is how we can make a better world. Simple, right?
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Leung.
Well,
No, I think ask CJ first. Okay, Dr. Leung first. CJ, what role can the audience play in driving change in diversity and inclusion?
I think we have to start from being aware of whether we are experiencing some gender disparity, or whether we are in fact working towards, or rather, because sometimes there is an unconscious bias, amongst us. So I think the first thing that we all can do is to have that awareness, and if we don't, then we have to create the awareness, and after that, action. Walk the talk. I think then naturally changes will follow.
Thank you, CJ. So, Dr. Leung, the final one. What is one key takeaway you hope the audience leaves with today?
At this challenging time, I think it's very important to advocate inclusiveness and diversity. And leaders in Asia, whether men or women, I think that they should come together and to reimagine, as you used the term, global governance and advance justice through inclusiveness and diversity for the sake of peace and development of the region.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Leung. So with this, before we draw this very meaningful symposium to a close, I also want to take this opportunity to let all the young people here, my mentees, know that the Law Society, as I mentioned in my opening legal year speech yesterday, we acquire our new office premises is going to move in the Q2 this year. So we hope with the new office premises, we are going to host more of the meaningful seminar, also all these lectures for all of you. So hope you all can come to visit us in the very near future. With this, can you join me to give our very distinguished speakers a round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you, all the speakers and moderator. The discussion has been very inspiring and thought-provoking, and I'm sure that we have a lot of valuable takeaways. And now, may I invite President Tong and Professor Poon of CUHK to present souvenir to our speakers. Okay. Once again, thank you all the speakers, President Tong and Professor Poon. And on behalf of the Law Society of Hong Kong, thank you for joining us today. And this concludes today's event. For the guests who are going to join the dinner tonight, please proceed to the dinner venue Hyatt Regency, which is just 3-minute walk from here. And we look forward to welcome you at future Law Society events. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.